Today at 30 teams in 30 days. We're talking about the Indiana Pacers. They've gotten swept out of the playoffs in the first round. Well, not swept, but beaten in the first round the last 3 or 4 years, I think it was. And they're a pretty good team. They always, finish really, place really well in the regular season. I thought they should have gone for at least further than that, at least one of those 3 or 4 years. You know what I mean? But what can the Pacers do to shake things up?
I mean, Indiana, first of all, let's talk about Indiana last season. Last season, what were they? They were at the sixth seed, I think. Um,
If
yeah, no, what were they? They were the fifth seed. Fifth seed. Yeah, that's kind of where Indiana always is. Like, you don't expect them to be a top two seed. You always expect them to be around 3, 4, 5, and that's just the kind of team they had. They don't really have any superstar. I mean, Oladipo is a good player, but he's coming off injury. Brogdon was really their big time off season pickup, and you got guys like Miles Turner ascending. They don't really have any superstars. Indiana is just a well run team. Like that's the epitome of team ball. No superstars. Everyone just plays good enough. Everybody just plays their role and they win games. That's what Indiana basketball has always been throughout its entire history. But pertaining to next season, Indiana is in a little tough situation. They fired their coach. They fired Nate McMillan. They brought in the guy I think from Toronto. To be their head coach. I don't know what he's going to be. I haven't heard much about him. Other than that, he's a great guy. I don't really know what kind of philosophy he brings to the team. But we heard the rumblings of that Oladipo one's out now, and I'm not surprised because a few years ago, Oladipo he was a star player, and then you see he's been injury riddled the past 3 seasons, and you see guys like Malcolm Brogdon and Sabonis ascending. Taking that star roles from Oladipo, so he's kind of taking a back seat. Now I don't think he enjoys that. So we heard that he wants to be traded. Indiana has a few options here. They obviously could trade Oladipo. I've heard rumblings of Oladipo to Boston for Hayward because we were saying right there they were hearing thoughts on Hayward wants out of Boston as well. He wants to return home to Indiana. I don't think that's gonna make sense. I don't see the Celtics trading him for trading Hayward for a guy like Oladipo. Maybe if they want Miles Turner would be another option for them to trade. I think Miles Turner and a guy like Doug McDermott or maybe a guy like TJ Warren for Hayward and maybe a pick. Boston would take that. Miles Turner and TJ Warren for a pick. Boston would do that deal because
what?
that's where you match salaries as well. And Indiana doesn't even have no pick going forward, so they could use a first rounder. Boston has 3 first rounders in this year's draft, so I could see that working out. But this team, they got some key players. Brogdon, I think he's a key player. Sabonis is a key player, and then I think and then you just got guys like TJ Warren and like Holiday. Those guys, they could stay. They're great role players. But Indiana's never going to be at this point constructed. They're never going to get the superstar free agent. They're never gonna for them to be great, they have to develop players, and they're never bad enough to get a good pick in a draft to where you say you're probably going to get a superstar, potential draft player. But so they're always going to be stuck in this loop situation, and I think the franchises realize that. I think most people in Indiana realize that it's not a free agent destination, and yeah, they're just always going to be around the 4 or 5 seed, and so I don't really expect much of them, but I do expect that every year in and year out they compete. But I think next year they're probably gonna be in the same situation where they are right now.
Yeah, so Indiana, they like you said, they stuck in that situation where they never bad enough to get a top pick in the draft, but they still is a pretty good team. I know a lot of teams will rather be in that position than getting in the lottery every year. These guys they make the playoffs every year, and a lot of teams who haven't made the playoffs in years would kill to get the 8th seed and get swept. You know what I mean? So it's not a bad thing. It's a good situation there, and they don't have no bad contracts. They don't have like any terrible contracts that like everyone on this team you could argue is tradable, and has a lot of you could get back some value for. Oladipo, Brogdon, and Demontis Sabonis, TJ Warren, all those guys, they're on pretty good contracts for like what they bring to the team. And the thing going forward to watch is TJ Warren. We saw what he did in the bubble. He tore up the bubble in the regular season. in the playing games, he turned into Michael Jordan. I didn't see that coming, especially when they played the Lakers. He decided I think he dropped 40 on the Lakers and he had the dagger on them. So going forward, TJ Warren's going to be something to watch. Like, does he continue to play? Like, does he continue to ascend? And if you look at these guys, like, would they have? You look at the age of these guys. All these guys in there, like they're like 25 to 28 range, like Sabonis, Brogdon, Warren, and Sabonis. All those, they're pretty young players. So they have something, like you said, they have to develop all their players. All these guys is developed within Indiana. I feel like Oladipo's probably going to get traded, which I think will probably be a good move for this team because now Brogdon and TJ Warren and Sabonis, now those guys could kind of is like Indiana. They kind of like have a lot of, they don't have a superstar, but they have a lot of third string players who would be like third string players on a championship team. Like Oladipo is good, Brogdon is good, and Sabonis is good. But those guys, they're not top two players on a championship team. They're third guys. You know what I mean? So I feel like going forward, like trading Oladipo is good. Would end up being good for this team, depending on what they could get back. But I feel like it'll help sort things out because Oladipo came back and he thought, okay, I'm the guy. This was my team, and then Brogdon and Sabonis they've been carrying the team all season and, trying to fit Oladipo back in the mix. And then TJ Warren started to go off. So I think it was some confusion going on. But, they're in a good situation, and you could argue as they kind of like in a catbird type of seat. So
The reason why you don't, I think guys like Brogdon and Sabonis, I think they're, I wouldn't say untouchable, but I think you don't really pick up the phone is because they're on good contracts. They're great players on good contracts, and you don't get rid of those type of players. You're not going to get a guy that's giving you Brogdon's value and giving you Sabonis value at that price. You're never going to get that at that price in this NBA. So I think you have to at least try to keep those guys unless you're getting a superstar, of course. So other than that, TJ Warren, I don't think TJ Warren is going to be anything special. We know what TJ Warren is. We saw him in Phoenix for years. We even saw him early in the season with Indiana. He is what he is. He's about 15 points maximum. Probably give you about 7 rebounds. He's never going to be like that 20-point scorer. We saw in the bubble was just an operation for TJ Warren. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm just saying that what we see is not what you should expect from TJ Warren. He's a good piece. He's a good starting piece on a championship team. Maybe a fourth best player. He's not third best player on any championship team. But yeah, Indiana, I honestly think Oladipo wants out, and it makes sense to trade him because he has 1 year left. But I really think if they really want value for it, it'll be Miles Turner. I don't think any team is trading a all-star quality player for a guy like Oladipo because he has been injured. He has been, he only has 1 year left on his contract. I think a guy like Miles Turner, a lot of teams would cover. I think teams like Brooklyn would cover the guy like Miles Turner. Maybe they give Caris LeVert for a guy like Miles Turner. He's big. He can shoot the three. DeAndre Jordan. I don't think he's a starting caliber center in the NBA no more. I think Brooklyn would be interested. I think maybe even Golden State would be interested in Miles Turner. See what they give up. Maybe they probably give up a Wiggins and whatever else for Miles Turner. They try to get the contracts to match. I think that's something they would be open to. They need a big as well, and I'll also help them to use that pick on maybe another All-Star instead of drafting a guy like Wiseman to hold that big spot. So I think Turner really has the most value. Other than that, free agents. I don't think much free agents going in. Yeah, like I really don't see it. They're gonna get lower tier free agents. They're gonna get guys like Jay Crowder. You know what I'm saying? They probably gonna get guys like Avery Bradley. That's the kind of guys they probably would get. Maybe a guy like Kyle Korver to come off the bench. They're not gonna get any big time free agents. I don't even see a guy like Paul Millsap going there. Not that they need him, but the name of him is not even gonna go to a place like Indiana. But I mean, it is a good team. Like you see, a lot of teams would trade places to be in Indiana's situation, but at some point, it's like Indiana understand what they are. Like they know we're not going to be a championship team. You know, their best days was what 2012, 2013, Paul George, Roy Hibbert, and those and George Hill and those guys. Those days are long over because they kind of got lucky on the Paul George draft. He was 13 pick, and he really was a superstar at that time. But other than that, they really just have the hope a guy like Sabonis. Sabonis is an all-star. They have the hope that he takes that next step. They have to hope that guys like Brogdon take that next step. Maybe they can recruit guys who are in the similar age as them to come to Indiana. Guys like Westbrook I don't think those guys are going to Indiana. You know what I'm saying? We do know Westbrook is on the market now. Maybe they consider that. I don't know if Houston do that. Maybe you probably got to give Oladipo one turn up
Yeah,
for
but
Westbrook.
that ain't Pacers basketball. That ain't the culture. Pacers basketball, they have a real system. They're a real basketball.
You don't know. We don't know now though. We don't know now because they have a new coach.
Well, yeah, they have a new coach, but just based on like how these guys work, how this group work together, Westbrook will destroy this team. And I don't think what you have to trade to get Westbrook. You have to trade two at least. You got to make the contract work. You got to trade like two of your, those Oladipo, Brogdon, or Sabonis. One of those, you got to trade like two of those guys to make the contracts work. So I think that's still a first round exit for them if they get Westbrook. But I feel Oladipo's coming to. He's probably going to the Lakers this offseason. Let's not dismiss that. They'll get Kyle Kuzma and Danny Green, and we'll get Oladipo. So I feel like if you put a guy like Danny Green, some championship pedigree, and a guy like Kyle Kuzma, some real playoff experience, a reliable score off the bench on this team, and I feel like those are good pieces for Victor Oladipo.
I don't even think Indiana picks up the phone. Danny Green and Kyle Kuzma. I don't even think Indiana picks up the phone in that deal. That's the way to that time. If they see the Lakers calling, they're just not gonna hang up. They see any LA team calling, unless they don't even want Paul George because Paul George has been there. If any LA team is calling, they're gonna hang up the phone. Maybe the only guy from LA who they could probably that's tradable, who they would probably want is a Montrez. And Montrez is a free agent. So both those LA teams, you're not getting the guy like Oladipo on the trade market.
Yeah, well, I think you could get a guy like Oladipo because you look at Oladipo's value, like he didn't perform well when he came back, and he's coming off an injury, and the guys looking at him like, he doesn't have a ton of value right now. So I feel like maybe you have to throw in another pick and Giannis' little brother, like a second round pick, and Giannis' little brother inside there to get Oladipo. But I think that's a fair deal.